Good afternoon, book lovers. Robert Boyd here with another review. Bringing a big mug of tea. And the music you're hearing in the background is Nujabes. He was a Japanese DJ who tragically died a few years ago in a car crash. But I highly recommend him. I'm going to turn it off now. And the reason I've got Japanese music going on is because I'm reviewing a book by a Japanese author, Museum of Terror, Tomie Volume 1 by Junji Ito. Now, all the books I've done book reports on so far, I've had positive reviews of, and this is going to be my first negative review. I didn't like this book. I've liked Junji Ito before, and one of the things he did that I really liked was a graphic novel, or I guess a series of graphic novels called Uzumaki, which is Japanese for spiral. And what he does, and what I've seen in other stories, is he'll take one idea, build some sort of horrible, body horror out of it, but just basically keep doing slight variations on it, and sometimes that works, and sometimes, as in Tomie, it didn't. In Uzumaki, the idea was, and I think this is what made it so great, is the idea was the geometric form of a spiral. So these people living in a small town, or small city, I guess, are afflicted in story after story with a series of horrors based on the shape of a spiral, and I'll show you one of them, so you'll get an idea of how gruesome it can get. But also, what appealed to me was, okay, horror in comics is never quite as horrible as a good horror movie, I would say. And that might be, others might disagree with that, but I'm just saying that it doesn't have the same visceral feel. But in this case, or in the case of Uzumaki, it's taking something so abstract, literally a geometric shape, and turning that into an inexplicable horror. And that reminds me a little bit of Mark Danielski's book, House of Leaves, where essentially an idea just keeps growing and growing more horrible as it goes along. And he tries to do that in Tomie, but the idea seems shallow. Tomie is a young woman, very attractive. She's in the first few stories, she's a high school student, but what will happen is in the stories is that young men will become smitten with her, follow her around, basically commit horrible acts at her bidding, and then eventually will be compelled through some unexplained psychic means to murder her and chop her body into small parts. But of course, that's not where it ends. The small parts all grow up to become additional Tomies. So I think there's the basic theme of it is fundamentally kind of sexist. That's not the worst part of it, though. I think the worst part of it is that it's just not very original. It's just it gives him an excuse to have these chopped up images of Tomie, which is horrible, of course, and also to have these sort of perverse budding Tomies. It's as if and in fact, in one story, it's compared literally to like getting a bud of a flower. Like out on my balcony right now, I have an amaryllis bud, which hopefully will turn into a beautiful flower after a certain number of weeks. So each chunk of Tomie is like a bud, and there are images of her like of her breaking off from herself and becoming multiple people. And I just wasn't very scary, and it wasn't unlike Uzumaki and some other works of his I've read. It just didn't have like that sort of intellectual horror that would have made it great. So this is going to be a short review, and I'm just going to tell you I didn't like it. I didn't like Tomie, even though I think Junji Ito is an important manga artist. This was not a book that I loved. Thanks very much. Goodbye.